All right, the 3-minute countdown starts now.
Midwest SBL, louder than ever, bringing you the fire. It's DJ
Please
Rusticles.
Did you already share it, Brian?
World champion. My old jersey just came in the mail today at home. I wish I had it. I would be wearing it right now. I've been waiting a long time for that gold jersey, man. Like, each one this year. I used to say, like,
What's that, Brian?
my kids like the music. My 12-year-old is watching right now.
There's a part of the song I really like. It'll come up soon.
Hey, Jake, do you golf? I don't know.
That's funny, though. All right, I got it shared. All right, we get people coming in.
It looks like the viewership's super delayed at the moment, so the questions will probably be very delayed as well, right? And it dwindles down, everybody. It's been 5 months since we've done a show, and before that was probably a couple months before that
That's
as
right.
well. Guys, this is a very special show. We have Scottie Johnson and Shawn Simpson in the house. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Yes, thank you. Scottie, it's been probably 4 years since we've been talking about you doing a show with me, or with us. And now you're the owner of the company, you kind of have to do a show from time to time, right?
Pressured me into it.
Yeah, I pressured you into it, you know. It's 8 o'clock tonight.
You got Cigar Joe?
Cigar Joe's, and he's coming. Hey, look at there. He actually messaged me. Hey, what time are you doing the show? I said, we're gonna do it at 8 o'clock. Well, guys, it's almost 9, so here we are. We're gonna start off the show by talking, firstly with Scottie Johnson about how he kind of got started in the industry and where he was, where he is now, and what the future holds. And we're gonna talk with Shawn Simpson. Shawn's our new VP in sales, and we're gonna talk with him and see what his future holds as well, and what his past was like. Because Shawn, you and I have spoke, but we haven't spoken enough. I don't know enough about you, and I want the world to find out about Mr. Shawn Simpson.
All right, about to learn today.
Oh, no.
Firstly, let's do a mic check for those that are listening to the show and watching the show. How do our mics sound?
Check.
I had to reconfigure the whole soundboard, so I hope it sounds okay. If not, if there's somebody who's maybe a little low or a little high, let me know and I'll adjust their gains. So, Scottie, let's start with you first. How are you?
I'm good.
You tired of driving up here yet every week?
I'm tired.
Did you drive 3 hours from Knoxville, usually once a week, and you come here and you hang out with us and make sure the business is going smooth and take a lot of the pressure off of this guy over here.
That's right.
Now you got all the pressure. Actually, a lot of pressure's gone on to us office folks.
It's all on Brian.
It's really all on Brian.
I can't breathe. That's me every day, right, honey? You can't see her. She's off the camera, but
We got Big Jeff in the house.
Yeah. Big Jeff.
Hey,
Big Jeff, I haven't met you yet. This is Brian. I'm the office. What do you call me now?
What's
the
up, Jeff?
administrative director, I guess, is my
There
new
you go.
name. Was the office manager. So, yeah, this is our show, Sundown After Dark. For those who have not seen the show yet, it's been a while since we've done one.
Mhm.
Hopefully we can keep it going again and get things back on track. We used to do a show every week, and it was a good time. We would do product displays and tech talks and usually we just shoot the shit and have a good time.
Of course.
That's why it's after dark. You know, we're not really in business mode at this time.
We're way after dark today.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is the time we should be doing the show, Jake.
I can't stay up this late all the time. Are you crazy?
Nobody wants to. That's the thing. We get done work and we're like, man, I don't feel like staying after today. We used to do them at like 4 o'clock just so we can be done at 5 and then leave.
Hell, my bedtime is 9 o'clock. Come on.
Jeez. All right, so let's get started with Scottie. Scottie, we were going to have you on the hot seat today. Let's start. I know that you were a competitor, but let's start maybe right before the competitor side of things.
Oh,
You know,
I was a baby then.
what really got you started in the car audio industry and or power industry to kind of get you to where you are today?
My older brother, introduced me to car stereo. He had a sound cue build, and I fell in love with it. I was in the middle of learning how to make pizzas at the time.
Nice.
So I kind of graduated from pizza making into cabinet making. It was a separate business my older brother decided to start, and it was a family venture. I learned how to cut wood and sand, and of course, if you're into stereos, the first thing that turns into is building speaker enclosures. So I did that for myself first and got really good at it, and then started building speaker enclosures for everybody else, and that graduated into doing full-on installs. So that's how I got started.
Awesome. Real quick, thank you for your super chats. Dirty South Wookie Blue. It's Aaron, right? Aaron, that's you, right? Thank you very much for your super chats. And if you have anything you'd like to ask Scottie, go for it, man. or Shawn. I'm sorry. But anyway, back to you, Scottie. So you got started now. When did you start getting to the point where like, hey, I think I can compete and do some cool stuff with this?
Yeah. In my small town, I had tons of people that were saying, I've never heard anything like this. It's the loudest thing. Just to kind of give a frame of reference, I had a 85 S10 Blazer that I cut all the suspension off of. I mean, it was probably an inch and a half off the ground.
Jeez.
And I had, what did I have? I had 8 12-inch Rockfords in that thing with an old school Alpine, maybe a 500 watt amp.
On all of them?
On all of it, yeah.
All right.
I didn't know a thing about impedance. I just kept hooking things together until
Less than quarter ohm.
until they started working.
They were single 4 ohm subs probably back then.
They were a mixture. 4 of them were single voice coil and
Jeez.
4 of them were dual. But I just kept, if the amp cut off, I would say, oh, that didn't work, and I'd plug wires together differently, and it would work that time. But I finally figured it all
You know,
out.
that's
awesome.
kind of how it works.
Yeah.
I was doing installs in an apartment complex, running wires through the door jams and shit when I was 13 years old. You learn,
Yeah.
you learn the right way.
And the wrong way.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You learn by mistakes.
So funny story. There was this guy in my small hometown. He had a Ford Escort with 2 15s in it, and he told everybody he was like a champion, SPL champion, and he had an old measurement device. I'm not even sure where he got this thing, probably from Radio Shack, but
They had one, yeah.
yeah, it would tell you the decibel level, but it would only go up to 145, I think was the limit.
which was still pretty big back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he bragged to everyone around town, and he was like, I'm champion for the state or whatever. And he would bring this meter out and show it off and play his stereo. And he told all of his crew, his clique, oh, there's no way this guy's louder than my car. And I found him in a parking lot one day hanging out with a bunch of his buddies, and I pulled up beside him, and I was like, hey, let me see how loud my thing is on your meter. And he was like, oh, don't even worry about it. It won't register like my car does. I was like, okay, well, let me try it. So he picks it up in his car, and he was like, well, this is a tough one. This meter's kind of stiff.
It's always an excuse.
The excuses were starting already. So before he even handed...
How many back windshields did he blow up before he...
Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them, yeah. But before he even handed the meter over, I turned mine up, and it topped out the meter, and while he was holding it in his car, and he was like, oh, that's odd. I've never
topped the meter out from your car to his.
From my car to his car. He was like, I've never seen that happen before.
That's awesome.
I was like, okay, so yours car's not as loud as you thought it was.
Yeah.
But he was running, I don't know if very many viewers would remember this brand, but they were called Godfather.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that's OG.
Come on now, you're
Eminem.
arguing out the
I remember
age
the
of me
emblem.
now.
I remember
Yeah.
the emblem.
Yep. So that got me thinking, if that guy's supposedly the champion, maybe I should go attend one of these shows.
Right.
Right.
So I built a whole nother car, Honda Accord. It had 12-inch sound streams in it, and I had actual power then. I think I started out with 3,000 watts total on those 12s, and I took it
And
to...
this is back when you were extra poor.
I was extra poor.
Yep.
Yeah. That build was completely funded by student loans. So
That's amazing.
I would go get student loans and then go hang out at my local car stereo shop and take that student loan check and cash it and get stereo equipment.
Thank you, Sally Mae Loan Company.
And then use whatever was left over to buy the books that I needed for class.
Now, speaking of school, did you ever finish school?
I did. It took
Yeah.
me 5 years, but I did finish.
And what would you go to school for?
I started looking for a degree in electrical engineering, primarily because I thought it would make me better at doing car stereo
I
installations.
heard that's a very hard thing to get
It's
into.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So
Ethan Poisonier from Amp Lab, he just finished up his, and he said it was the hardest 4 years of his life.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough. But I was trying to work my way through college because other than the student aid didn't cover hardly any of it, so I had to come up with the rest of it myself. So I worked my way through, and to be able to do that, I had to go to school every other day,
Right.
which is I couldn't get enough hours in one semester. Is why it took 5 years. But yeah, so it started with electrical. I made it about halfway through that, and once you got toward the end of the courses, it required you to go every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried it for a little bit, and I just couldn't make enough money to cover the tuition, so I backed out of electrical and went to mechanical, thinking that would be easier, but it was much the same. And then I transitioned into industrial engineering and completed my degree in that.
Mechanical will be more like physics, I assume.
Lots of physics
involved.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I took something from every one of the courses that I bounced around
Right.
from, and then ultimately, as an industrial engineer, they essentially are training you to manage other types of engineers.
Gotcha. It's kind of like a contractor almost. We have a lot of subs underneath of you that do a bunch of different things, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So you got your degree in that.
Yes.
Now, during college, were you in the car audio scene at that point?
Just barely. Yeah.
So you were just getting into it,
I kinda
which is
got
also
started.
the same time you were starting to do the carpentry and the cabinets, cabinet
Correct.
making.
Yeah, so I found a way to build speaker enclosures for people in my county and then some in the next county over as a way to kind of better afford going through college. So
Keep
So
that mic on your mouth.
yeah. So that was part of the way I put myself through college, was just building stuff for other people. But
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
yeah, once I got into the car stereo competition scene, I guess my first real event was the first ever Mecha show. So that's a lot of people don't.
The first ever.
The
Mecha
first
show.
ever Mecha show was my first real competition.
With,
So
with Steve.
yeah, Steve Stern.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was in Louisville. It was close by, and I went and I won.
Because he was from Kentucky too, I believe, right? or Tennessee?
Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now he's not even in it anymore. That tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just sold that last year.
Right.
Jeez. Steve's an awesome dude, by the way.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since he sold the company, but I heard he's off to greener pastures. You know, he's following his music career into his, was it 60s now?
Playing a guitar.
Having a good time, and I think he's back in Nashville doing it there too.
Yeah. Well, that's the place if you're gonna play a guitar. That's,
Yeah, you know, he could probably sit in the corner and have a good time, and still make enough money.
Yeah.
You know? All right, so college, and then you graduate. Now, give me that between time, college into, I guess we can call it Excess Power, but
Yeah.
I think it was Power Start,
Power Master.
Power Masters back then.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
Yeah, so I graduated in '99, and that was my first year competing in car stereo, and I basically car stereo competition actually was part of the reason that I didn't go immediately into a career with my degree. I was having a lot of fun building speaker enclosures, and I don't know if some part of me back then thought that I could actually make a living. I knew I could make some sort of living. I mean,
We've all had that dream.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can do this for a living.
Yeah. Well, I kind of was.
It hurts after a while.
Yeah. So I went on some interviews with some large corporations, and I got a couple job offers, but nothing really felt right. It was a lot of like factory type jobs.
Yeah.
And I kind of had some freedom doing what I was doing. So car stereo competition kind of steered me a little bit away from being a professional. So I just kept competing.
It's kind of what happened with Jake here too.
Yeah.
He didn't even finish college.
No.
Yeah. I kept competing, and I kind of learned the sponsorship game pretty early on. Let's see, I think my first sponsor was probably 2001.
Yeah.
My first official sponsor was JL Audio. A lot of people don't know that. Interesting for you.
I actually didn't
I
know
was
that you dealt with.
repping- I
I
was
didn't
a
know that you
rep
dealt
for
with
them.
JL.
Yeah, that was one of my first sponsors. They gave me 6 W315s to go compete at. So I did compete at 1999 DB Drag World Finals. I tried to get in '98, but I didn't have any points. I didn't even know how it worked. I just showed up at the door,
Right.
let me in to compete in World Finals, and they were like, "Doesn't work that way."
Right. That's the only one you can't do that in.
Yeah, yeah. So, and of course, back then there were thousands of cars. The classes were
It
packed.
was a huge scene back then.
Oh, yeah.
And it's finally starting to grow again. There was a hell of a dip there for a while, but the scene's growing again, which is great.
Yeah, it seems
I
to be.
feel like we're a good part of that. Yeah, we're a big part of that growth.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're in doing the competitions. Now, I heard a story about you and an Optima battery, which kind of got you
It's my favorite story.
started in the whole power system side of things. Let's get to that story.
Yeah. So I had a hard time with batteries in particular because, if you're going to build a super street world champion level vehicle, it takes a lot of power. So, finding a car audio company to sponsor you for speakers and amplifiers and things of that nature back then wasn't that difficult. There were a lot of people getting some giant
Right,
sponsorships back then.
That was the mecca of the car audio scene back then.
Yeah. And I put all my effort into it. I mean, I made proposals for companies like Budweiser and
Wow.
and I got to talk to some of the higher ups there, so I really learned the game early on, but I could not break into a battery company. I tried Turbo Start back in the day, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll help you out, but you've got to buy them. You got to buy a certain amount," and I just couldn't do it off my.
And gel cell and dry cell and AGM, that was just starting back at that time too.
Right.
Optima was the big player in the game.
Yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah, and Turbo Start was there with their 16-volt acid-filled battery, and some competitors were using those at the time, but like I said, I couldn't get my hands on them, so a lot of us broke guys were using like tractor batteries, like 8-volt
Deca batteries.
Oh, yeah.
golf cart batteries, and even those you couldn't get them for free. Like, you still had to pay something for them, and
Right.
I literally was trying to scrape together dollars just to buy the MDF,
Right.
Yes.
So I approached Optima.
Try buying MDF now.
Right.
Yeah, it's like triple the
Even I
price.
can't afford that. But I approached them with a really nice presentation, sponsorship proposal, and they were like, yeah, we've never done this in car audio before, other than, they had some premier audio shops that they might be some customers today that they used to give small amounts of product to, but here I am asking for 50 batteries in my first shot. And they were like, is this a thing? People put 50 of these things in one car? And I was like, well, yeah, if you sponsor me, I can talk a lot of other people into putting 50 in their cars. And they fell for it. Mm-hmm. And they sent me their first pallet, and I ran 12 volts for the first few, what I call the good years of my competition career, when I really started pushing world record levels. Mm-hmm. And people couldn't believe it. And I thought, you kind of believe the hype sometimes, and people are like, man, if you can do that number on 12 volts, just imagine what you could do on 16 volts, like what everybody else was running.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I couldn't really come up with a good way to do it. Like, I bought I was donated some batteries that were a takeout from a hospital that were like 2-volt cells, and they were not even They were not even lead acid. They were, I should know the chemistry, but
like nickel.
NiCad type batteries. Okay. So I took those and seriesed them into my 12-volt bank, and I hid them because it worked. Like, I got a giant increase, and I'll never forget, I went to spring break that next year after adding those in, and set the world record initially. And
with hidden batteries?
With 16-volt system, and everybody. And then, the judges would come by with their fluke meters, and they would stab it into the wires, and it was already a big deal, the numbers I was doing on 12 volts. But when they saw those numbers right after the new mics came out, they were like, holy shit, on 12 volts. So for like 3 more years after that, the assumption was that I was running 12 volts the whole time, but really.
What was the year, when was the first time you broke your door? Because I have that video on my computer saved from when I was in college.
Yeah, it's on YouTube still too.
Yeah. It's like this little low quality AVI video, I saved it when I was in college because Scottie was like a celebrity to me when I was in college.
Flip phone video. Boom.
No, we shot it on one of those tiny little, they had the little card inside the camera. I'm not sure what year that was.
Because it was before I met you, and I met you in like 2002 or 2003.
It was the first year of the van. So
you sure it was that early?
I was in college. I just graduated high school. I was at Western with Nick, and it was like.
When did you graduate?
I graduated high school in 01.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I'm old, man. Come on.
Yeah. So I first brought the.
He said old.
No, I got my years mixed up because I met him in like 03. That's right. It was 03 when I met him. Never mind. We're good.
Yeah.
It was 2000 or 2001 when I first built that, and that sort of, I graduated from the 615s that JL gave me. I went to USAC World Finals and fell on my face. I did horribly, and I came back and I was like, if I'm going to compete, I'm going to need a van. So I talked to my guy there, and I was like, I need 3 more 15s. I'm going to build a van. So I did 9 15s and started off that year with JL, and I played with everything imaginable. I mean, I started with a flat wall, and I did what would be one of the common bandpass designs today, but I was using really not suitable woofers for that.
I was going to say, the only woofer I can think of that they made back then would have been a W3 that would have been good for that.
That's what I was using.
Yeah, because W6 and W7 were more SQ.
W7 was brand new at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was considered as a sponsor to get W7s, but I needed so many.
W7s aren't really meant for that. They sound amazing.
Yes. Well, I wanted them because of, I was thinking there's more suspension travel, and I've got to be able to put up a bigger score with these, but I never got a chance to try it. But Nathan Munson actually got sponsorship for one, and he and I were talking about that recently.
Yeah.
How we were both kind of on Team JL at the same time.
Right.
Way back in the day.
And he's older than you.
Probably barely, but anyway. But yeah, I couldn't really find anybody that I could get. Of course, everybody back then wanted digital designs or something like that.
Right.
I remember them being so hot back then, DD.
Yep, or RF.
They started off with stiff spiders back then.
Yeah. And I just couldn't get my hands on any. And so a newcomer came, a dyer, and I reached out to Dan, and he was like, yeah, sure, this sounds crazy. He liked crazy things, so he supported me with it, and those Adair subs are what
the Brahma?
Yeah, that's what broke the door.
And you got the Brahm Extremes later, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the second year in, and Dan made all kinds of little special tricks with them, and that was back when you weren't allowed to use things that were not commercially available. So some old school guys might remember this, but he put them on the website for some crazy price.
Yeah, they were like $3,000. I remember that. I remember seeing them. I was like, oh my god.
And all they were is they just had a Teflon sleeve around the XBL2 tech, so the coil couldn't.
Dude, I remember this stuff from because I was on the forums, and this is when I just met Scottie and Dan, and like Dan was telling me all this shit, and I was a college kid, and I was like, oh my god, it's so awesome.
That made me think of something, and we'll get back to that in a second. Our compact V3s, our compact woofers have never been on our website from the first version.
You're right, they haven't. I guess we ought to put them on there.
And we used to have them on our price sheet, the old version 1s and version 2s. We should probably do something with that. Let's brainstorm that one tomorrow.
Let's get them on there.
All right, back to you, Scotty.
Because there's not a lot of pictures. We could use
see, they're built according to whatever the
we could use
stipulations
Frankie's.
are.
We can use Frankie's pictures because they look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. Not everybody's gonna get blue ones, folks.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, if they pay for it, then
right. I want to hear the story about you cutting up the batteries.
Yeah. So
those were Optimas, right?
Yeah. So eventually, I got to the point where I could request much larger quantities. So that the last build that I did, I didn't want to deal with. I couldn't get enough of those donated batteries from those NiCad products. So I had this idea. I was like, well, Optima had released the Group 31 size at that time, much larger format. I was like, I think I could fit 100 of those in a van.
Yeah.
So I cut the whole bottom out. And Criminator was my biggest amp sponsor at the time. And we were just talking about this weekend, actually. I found a van that I really wanted. It was local. It was $1,000. Perfect. It was all-wheel drive. It wasn't an Astro. It was
an all-wheel drive van.
All-wheel drive Safari.
Oh, nice! Didn't even know they made those.
Yeah, they were very rare. So my idea was, let me just gut everything from the B pillar back, including the drive shaft, so that the front drive could power the vehicle, and I could fill the whole rest of it up with batteries. And
did you cut out the floor?
Everything.
Jeez.
Yeah. Everything. I had these crazy 10,000-pound trailer hubs that I welded onto the side of the battery enclosure.
Didn't you have special rims and tires on that van eventually?
The rims were sponsored. They were typical 22-inch rims that you could get for a truck, but I did have tires that were filled with a compound that kept them from.
I swear I remember something about the tires being special, so that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's like a foam or something on the inside?
It's like a forklift compound.
Oh, shit. Look at you.
Yeah. So, I had all that room for batteries, and I was like, well, I can't. These are all I can fit in there, that Group 31 format. So I was like, how could I take what I have and still get the voltage that I want? So I knew a little bit about battery construction. I had studied it enough at that time to know that, sealed batteries, once they, and I asked Optima a lot of questions, like supposedly, what would happen if you accidentally opened up one of the batteries? Does the explosion happen? And they're like, oh no, it's very safe. But I asked as many people as I could that had any knowledge, and I just decided one day I'm just going to cut one open and see what I can do. So I had in my imagination, I had an idea of how the busing might run internally, and I even used really bright lights to try to shine through the plastic so I could see some shadows or whatever. So I thought, if I can just cut in this just right spot, then I can sever that connection and break away 2 cells from the other 4. And I just suited up one day with all kinds of first I built
Tyvek suit.
Yeah, first I built a jig so I could do it on just a wooden table saw. And I built a jig that would kind of protect me in case something really bad did happen. And then I just protected myself the best I could, and I did one, and I didn't blow up.
You just straight through a table saw.
Straight through a table saw.
Damn.
And then I drilled and tapped in the appropriate spot to be able to make the connections I needed.
Is there just some flat busing that goes from cell to cell?
They're poured through the cell molded connections. So what I didn't know, and the reason why this, for listeners that think, oh, I'm just going to start doing that, the reason it won't work long term is because you get tons of lead shavings inside the rest of the battery, and once the battery is exposed to oxygen, you can try to seal it back up the best you can, but it lives a very short life after that. It would be the equivalent to opening the vent valves on a sealed AGM battery and letting it sit that way,
Okay.
which will just kill it in short order. So, but I had free batteries. I was sponsored.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't care. And
Now,
I
I assume they caught wind of this.
they never did.
No.
So if they're watching today, they're probably like, you motherfucker. Because I would just, every now and then, 25% of the battery bank had to be cut apart to make 8 or 4 volt sections. And
So
I
there's 6 cells per thing, right?
Yes.
So you would cut off 2. Would you add 4 and 4 together?
Yeah, so I would take the 2 and series it with a fully uncut 12 volt battery.
Oh, okay.
So that would get me 16, and then that would leave me with a bunch of 8s left over. So I would take all those 8s and parallel them, series them into 16, and then parallel that to the same bus.
Jesus.
So it was beautiful when it was done. And if it wasn't for the dying of the cut open batteries, it would have lasted forever and been awesome.
How long did they last? Like maybe a season?
1 season. Yeah. But,
Good enough, right?
In fact, the first season I did that, I didn't realize that they wouldn't last until I got to World Finals and my capacity was all gone.
So Optima didn't ask for their batteries back?
No.
In pieces?
They didn't, and I kept. I wish I would have kept a lot more. I didn't know I was going to take this path in life, but I wish I would have kept all the ones that I ruined. But I would call them at the end of the season and say, "Hey, I've got like 25% of my battery bank died for some reason. I need some replacements." And they would, we supported each other. They would send me prototype stuff, and I would test it out. And
Were they
I feel like
sending?
Optima was a big name in batteries and cardio at that time.
Oh,
Probably,
yeah.
probably
And they
because
and
you
they
used
still
them.
are today.
Yeah.
yes,
Not so much in car
It's
audio,
like
but in
When I was in
part.
college, like I remember when Scottie was famous, and then everybody was, man, I need to give me some of them Optimas.
yeah,
That was that was blah.
Yeah.
That was the whole craze back then.
Yep.
Was
Yeah.
Optima.
yeah. We really
Now it's excess power. So
yeah. Well, with one of my best friends, Eric knows, Jacob knows Eric.
Yeah.
We used his build to push the blue top version in the street classes, and it really took off. I mean, they were selling. I think we did more for the brand pushing it in the street divisions than we did with what I was doing in super street because of the voltage. You had to have 12 volts in
Right.
and street class.
their blue top was their marine grade, right?
Yeah, but it had extra
Deep cycle.
Yeah, it had extra terminals on top. So with all the guys using multiple runs of wire.
Brian, do you remember that? The street guys would run like freaking 32 runs of wire and shit
Yeah.
Yes.
on one battery.
Yeah, I remember the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was
this is
insane.
if we were all together with our little friend group, this is where Eric would speak up and say, "Yeah, we realized that," and the Optima battery was one of the reasons we realized that, because we were looking for any way to gain. So we would just say, "Okay, well, what's it going to hurt to put an extra cable from this other connection all the way to the back, and then we got a gain?" And we're like, "Okay, let's
Yeah.
add another cable."
Right.
And we showed up at a show with like 8 runs per
Like
side. And
zero resistance wire.
Then, yeah. And then the next thing you know, everybody in street was running that setup.
Yeah. We will get. Well, we've already had Nick Wright on the show many times.
Mhm.
We will get Eric Coulter in here
One of these
and,
days.
and you, and we will talk more about your younger years.
Yeah,
And the fun times that you guys had back then.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
they have nothing but amazing stories.
Yeah. Well, they're amazing because half made up. So.
Well, let him go.
Yeah, yeah.
let it-
It's a legend.
about the holes, and Scotty lived in a single wide trailer with holes and the trees growing through it and shit.
Yeah, that's all true.
See? And look where you are now, right?
Right.
All right, so you did that. Now, at some point, you switched. I guess you worked for Power Master.
Yes. Yeah. So that circumstance of making my own battery bank caught the ears of the engineers at Power Master, and they were wanting to bring a battery to market because TurboStart batteries momentarily went out of business.
Gotcha.
And when they did, it left a void in the market for the 16-volt racing battery. So they wanted to find someone who had some expertise to bring a better battery like that to market, because they were selling lots of them into the market at that time. So they asked me, would you be interested in moving to Knoxville and taking a job as an engineer? And immediately I was like, yes,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Now,
You never actually worked at Optima, though, did you?
No, that was straight from
Okay.
building cabinets and competing to
what's your relationship with them now?
with
Being as you're a competitor.
with Optima.
Yeah.
I don't really. Our company has a good relationship with Optima. They have a place in the market, and we, I've tried to instill in my team that, you're a lot better off working together with people than you
Yes.
are against each other. So
We feel the same way in our industry as well.
yeah, so we support other brands, and Optima is one of those brands that we support.
Yep.
So, some of our guys stay in touch with some of their guys, and it's a very supportive relationship. If I see anybody I recognize from Optima at a trade show or something, I always am sure to say hello, and
I'd say probably a lot of the originals aren't there anymore. It's been a while.
it's been a while, yeah.
Same thing with us. When we go to these different shows, we hang out with the guys from B2, DD or DC, Criminator, obviously. Yeah, we try to mingle with everybody in the industry, and there's only maybe one company we don't, and we won't talk about that company. Yeah, we try to be as friendly as possible. Crossfire is another one. And we bounce ideas off each other. Like Jake and I got invited to the big kicker thing they were doing in Vegas.
That was
Right.
cool.
And that was amazing. Like
That was super cool.
I felt super important. I was like, why? This is amazing. So it's cool when you don't make enemies and you can all be colleagues within the industry.
Don't burn bridges.
Exactly.
Don't burn them.
People burnt bridges with us. What are you drinking over there?
Some kava.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
I don't touch that stuff. I don't want to fuck my liver up.
You got it.
You're not supposed to drink that, or that's kratom basically, right?
No, it's mostly kava.
I don't know I thought it was the same thing.
It's not the same.
Okay. We'll leave it alone. All right, so you started working for Powermaster, and it seems like somehow you've worked your way up in that business.
Yeah, so I started off on the tech lines. They just wanted to kind of test me out and see if I knew what I was doing, and that lasted about 2 weeks. I was not good at talking to customers on the phone. So I went straight into the engineering department and started working on that 16-volt battery. We brought it to market in a very short time period, a few months turnaround time.
You just designed the whole 16-volt side of things?
Yeah, we basically took the turbo start battery that was successful in the market at that time and reverse engineered it and made improvements to it to make it better. And we brought it to market in 2006, and it was incredibly successful. And of course, one of my main goals, even before I started, was to see if this is successful, then we could bring 12-volt batteries to market. And the only real competition in the industry at that time was Kinetic,
Right.
and they were doing
Are these AGM we're talking about?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we started with a 16 volt, and of course, there's very little market for that in the car audio community. But back then, 16 volts was popular for competitors. It was allowed in some of the higher classes. So, of course, with a lot of my connections with some of the well-known competitors in the industry at the time, I was able to get a lot of those guys running the Powermaster brand. So what we didn't realize, and this was all news to me, but also news to some of the team, but there was another company in New York at the time that had already trademarked the brand name Powermaster for batteries. So we weren't allowed to use it. We got a letter that said, hey, stop doing that, and we stopped. So that's where we had to create the Excess Power brand name and logo and all that stuff. So that happened all within the first year. So starting in 2007, we had Excess Power branded products, and if some people, including Nick and his forklift, still have some of those initial.
Yeah.
So Powermaster was out for a while though, because I remember commercials.
But they did other things like starters and stuff.
Because I remember commercials, and I remember the chargers that they had. Because like a lot of the big shops had Powermaster chargers, or like trickle charge systems and jump start systems. But I remember specifically watching like Saturday and Sunday, morning car shows with my dad, and there'd be Powermaster commercials. Like, that's crazy that it went on that long, and then you guys get a trademark.
So it was for batteries only. Powermaster back then and still today has the trademark for starter and alternator production.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
all the batteries that we shipped in 2007, 2008, and maybe even in 2009 had an Excess Power logo, but it had manufactured by Powermaster on the
So
sticker.
Powermaster wasn't making batteries until you got there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So to put this in a timeline, 2006 is also the year Sundown started. And by that point, I'd already known Scottie for like 4 years or so.
And I remember you having Powermaster batteries.
Yeah, I had the ones that had the both on them in that truck.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, Scottie got started, Sundown got started, all that stuff kind of happened. We'd at this point, I guess, Scottie, we've known each other for like 21 years as
Crazy.
of today.
Crazy.
As of today.
Well, not today.
Oh, okay.
This year.
Yeah.
By the way, my 10-year anniversary working for Sundown's coming up in 4 days.
Wow.
That's pretty wild.
Yep. And you can't
That's
see
awesome.
Miriam, but she's in here. I met Miriam
Yep.
in 2006.
Yep.
My wife. You can't see her. She's off camera.
You can't see my wife either. The ladies are not on screen.
So what year is it we met? It was 7?
07.
07, that's right. Yeah.
Sean and I first met in 07. He was one of the very first sales reps we hired, and the best.
Yeah, we're going
by
to
far.
definitely dive into how you guys met and how things transitioned here for sure. All right, so when or how did everything get to from Power? God, I can't get it out of my face. We went from Power Master to Excess Power, but you didn't own the company at that point.
No, I was just an engineer.
When did that transition happen?
About 5 years later. So about
Okay.
5 years, about 4 years after I started, the owner at that time was ready to transition into retirement. So we worked together on a plan to sell the Power Master brand to one of the manufacturing companies that we worked with in Chicago. So that kind of was a little bit of writing on the wall for me, and I was like, okay, well, what's going to happen with the battery portion of the
Right.
company?
You don't want to move to Chicago or what?
Did not.
Yeah.
I had no interest in moving up there. So he was straightforward with me and honest, and said, I'm going to sell the battery part too. If you want to buy it, you can buy it. And I just kind of laughed my ass off, like, you write my paycheck, I can't afford to buy a company.
Right.
But he shared some things with me, like you could maybe get a small business loan and maybe try to figure it out. So I looked into it. I put the same effort and energy.
Would you say he was kind of a mentor to you?
He did mentor me in a lot of ways.
Great.
What I usually tell people when they ask, how did you get to where you got right now? A lot of it is by not making the same mistake twice, and
Networking with the right people.
That, and not making the same mistakes others have made. So there were plenty of mistakes made in my family business. There were plenty of mistakes made on my own trying to build speaker enclosures, and the company that I worked for, there were plenty of things that I thought were not the right way to do it. And
Right.
he kind of coached me a little bit and said, you could get a small business loan and potentially figure out how to make this happen. So I put the same amount of effort and energy into trying to get a loan to buy the business as I did to try to get sponsors for car stereo competition. So, and a lot of the feedback I got when I would turn a sponsorship proposal in was like, we've never seen anything like this before. Nobody's ever put this much effort into trying to
It's
get
like a legit proposal.
legit.
Nick
yeah.
Wright told me about it's a legendary notebook that he put together for the Excess Power deal.
Right.
And Nick said it was the most detailed thing he's ever seen.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I put a lot of effort into it. It's something I really wanted. So, and the banks that I turned those proposals in told me the same thing. Like, this is amazing. Like, we've never seen anything like this before.
All the details.
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to give you any money, but this is cool. But I went back to work thinking, okay, I'm probably going to need to reevaluate my future because this company is going to sell since I can't buy it.
Right.
And
Well, you had that degree under your belt.
I did. I had something to fall back on. And I got offers from car stereo companies in the industry, but I didn't really want that. I wanted to keep trying to figure it out. So I kept kind of going back to the drawing board, and it took about a year, but eventually the very first bank that I went to took a chance.
All during this time, you're still working for them, right?
Yes.
And the business is not sold yet.
Correct.
Okay.
The Power Master portion had sold.
But the battery part's not.
Correct.
Because he's holding out for you, Scottie.
No, he was trying really hard without me, but but we got it. I got it done anyway, and that happened. First day in business was January 1, 2006.
Okay.
Excellent.
Nice. And I didn't know you back then, so.
A few years
So
later.
I've always known you as Excess Power Scottie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I met you. I met you in 2013.
Probably soon after you started.
Yeah, it was like a show or something we went
Yep.
to.
And by that point, pretty much everyone that ran Sundown ran Excess Power.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that was a thing the whole time.
I mean, we know other battery companies. We're friends with other people that own battery companies, but and we've been offered things. But I've always went to Scottie for things.
That's right.
I've the D3400 or any of the 3400 series batteries have been my go-to battery.
Yeah.
Period.
For
All
a
of
lot
my
of people.
vehicles, except for hers, because her car is new, has a D3400. Period. We gotta get one for Riley too.
So that's the most screen time they've seen you in the last decade, Scotty.
Who said that?
SD Designs.
Oh yeah.
That's Scott. All right, so you started the company, and then obviously you're doing something right because the business has just grown dramatically since then.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the growth and maybe some of the hurdles you had to go through and some of the successes that you've seen with products that you've come out with.
Yeah, I mean, I think being consistent has been my key. Staying focused and staying after it. We've got an amazing team. You know, the team is not the same as it was when we started, but a lot of the people that were there in the beginning are still there. Mm-hmm. And you know, I can only do so much, so I can't take any of the credit myself. But
right.
You know, the team that we have has been phenomenal, and I got to give them a lot of the credit for it. But you know, in the beginning, it was really the name of the game was just turning inventory. You know, like that was one of my hurdles as an employee, was trying to convince the owner to buy more inventory because I knew I could sell it.
Right.
And so, you know, initially that was my only challenge, was to make sure that I could take every penny for everything that I ever sold and put it into more inventory. And we grew through the 2008 recession with that. And we grew a lot. I mean, we didn't grow like 50% or anything like that, but we still grew in a year where
it was a tough couple of years.
Yeah,
back then,
where a lot of companies were completely going out of business. Yeah. And you know, our customers too. I mean, we've got some of the best customers in the world, not just on the audio side, but on the performance side too.
Yeah. You get three main sections, right? There's car audio, there's racing, and there's what was the other one? Oh, like power sports type.
We do, yeah. The markets are all over now. I mean, they've grown from primarily racing and car stereo to just performance across the board, and that can be anything from a monster truck to a asphalt dirt car,
right?
Anything that's got a built engine.
You gotta turn that knob. It's only an hour,
and
if
then
you turn it all the way.
And then you know, now we do products for marine, power sports, commercial, industrial.
On the industrial side, is it solar or is it
Not a lot of solar. Solar battery products are typically high capacity, more of a commodity type market. Mm-hmm. All of our battery products are really high power, and that's a lot more difficult to do. So less people do it, and there's a much smaller market for that. So we've focused on that niche area, and we dominate at it. So when it comes to high powered AGM battery products, there's nobody else that has the output power that we have.
Is Excess Power a NASCAR sponsor yet?
NASCAR's run Excess Power, but NASCAR sponsorships are a lot of money for things other than batteries. So, you know, being so close to Mooresville, it would be awesome to have good relationships there that don't require $1 million sponsorship and a pallet of batteries every week.
I may know some people. My dad used to work for NASCAR.
Okay.
And he still knows people. So
I graduated with a guy that drives a NASCAR.
Yeah. Dale Jr.'s driveway, my road that my house is on, runs into his driveway.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He owns many acres though. But my dad used to work for Ken Schrader, and he knows a lot of people in the industry. So I don't know what it takes to do the sponsorship thing, or what it. I don't know anything about it, but we can always look into it. You know?
Yeah, man.
Put some speakers in that bitch too.
I don't think they're interested. Although I did have a guy I know that works in the race industry ask me one time about power cable stuff.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of their toolboxes, like the big rolling toolboxes, they have like sound systems in them. Mm-hmm. I used to know a guy who used to build those in Mooresville. Mm-hmm. So you can look into that too. That'd be pretty kick-ass. So anyway, back to Excess Power. So your business is growing, and then I assume as things are happening, you're looking into new industries and new ways to get into the market, whichever markets you're trying to get into. Yeah. And it sounds like you've really tapped into a lot, especially the last 3 or 4 years. Since we've been talking more and more recently, I'm noticing you're really tapping into some very different markets and different materials coming in for certain types of batteries. I'm not sure what all you can talk about at this time.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that helped tremendously with that was the iOxus acquisition. Mm-hmm. That opened us up to a lot of customers that we did not have access to before. It's a lot of people think it's easy just to call a company like Ford up and try to sell them something, but there's a handful of people that make buying decisions there, and those people are very well shielded. You can't just call up and get a contact at some place like that. Right. So iOxus has a long relationship.
It's almost like lobbying on that side of things.
Yes. Yeah, so that opened up a lot of access to commercial and industrial type and OEM type business. Most every customer on the iOxus side has a very strict NDA, so there's not a lot I can talk about there, but
it's really cool though.
Yeah, and Jake's seen it firsthand.
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's and that business is multinational. So we have 2 manufacturing facilities in New York that total about 80,000 square feet of production, and then another 20 or 25,000 or so square feet of production in Japan, which I haven't got to see yet because during COVID it's been shut down, and only right at the end of last year it's opened up.
What year did you get the Oxus deal done?
That happened in 2020, about this time.
2020.
Yeah.
Now, what market was iOxus in primarily?
Their primary line of business was to the trucking market, delivery type trucks.
Gotcha.
And a little bit to like grid type applications, so things that would support high power bursts of energy.
Gotcha. Are those AGM or are they lithium?
That is an ultracapacitor product only.
Oh, okay.
We have Big Jeff says that he really appreciates growing with Excess Power, and he's sold a ton of your products.
He has.
Hell yeah, man.
And specifically speaking of the iOxus, he sells tons of the ultracapacitor products.
Big Jeff, you and I will meet one of these days. I haven't met you yet. I know primarily you deal with the Shawns from Excess Power, but I actually put in your orders. I don't know if you know that, but I'm the one that does your orders when it goes through Shawn. For now, until Shawn gets access. Shawns.
Then of course Scottie's newest thing is Sundown Audio.
This is true.
Right.
Well, hold on, we're getting there, Scott or Jake.
We're so close.
Yeah, we're getting there. Let's talk about lithium a little bit because that's kind of a new thing. Past 4 years. Mm-hmm. So let's get into what got you into the lithium market and what does your future hold? Because I know that's huge right now.
Yes, yeah, and a lot of people for the longest time did not think of us as a lithium company. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, Excess Power was the first company to bring lithium batteries of any kind, period, to the automotive aftermarket. We did that in 2007. We made a product called the LR48, which was, even by today's standards, incredibly advanced. I mean, it had a built-in regulator. It had a digital display. You could punch in the voltage internally of the pack was 22 volts, but you could tell the battery what voltage you wanted it to be. So it could be a 12.2 volt battery. It could be a 14.4 volt battery. It can
regulate that.
And it regulated it all internally. And we released that in 2007 at SEMA and won Best New Product
Why
award.
don't all batteries do that? That's amazing. I didn't even know you can do that.
There's a technical reason that you
can. So we built it with the racing market in mind. Mm-hmm. We wanted guys to be able to select the battery voltage that they needed and to have it be regulated. So what we found after bringing it to market, and we did lots of field testing, and the testing we got was great. The feedback we got was great. So good it was kind of almost unbelievable. And we put the product in the field and we started getting a lot of calls of customers with nitrous systems specifically saying, we can't read our data. And we're like, what do you mean you can't read your data? And they're like, well, a lot of the cues for what shows up in our data when, what's the system called? The data loggers.
Mm-hmm. Like CAN bus?
They're voltage based. So if a racer, for example, was trying to confirm or find out when exactly during a pass his nitrous solenoid's engaged, they would use the voltage changes to see that, but their voltage line in their data was a straight solid line. No matter what happened in that vehicle, the battery would regulate the voltage and hold it exactly at the voltage that they
Sounds like the battery was doing what it was supposed to do.
It was doing exactly what, we're just a bunch of engineers, and we're like, yeah, this is the greatest idea ever, and we won a crazy award for it.
It was too good.
And it was too good for the market. It was advanced beyond what the market wanted. So we ended up getting a lot back. It's like people were like, yeah, we don't know what our excuse is, but this thing is too good. We just want a lead battery back again. So
the racing scene, they run a lot of 14 volts, don't they?
We've pioneered that, yes. So at some point during our racing career, we decided, there's a lot of customers that want they want the benefits of a 16 volt system, but they don't have an alternator. Or maybe they do have an alternator, but there's this in-between voltage that people wanted to get to. So in my mind...
well, a lot of systems don't run up to 16 volts.
Right.
Like a lot of electronics and computer systems.
Yeah, and if you wanted to have those advantages on the street and you wanted to keep a 16-volt battery alive, you would be charging in the 19-volt range, and almost nothing will handle that amount of voltage. So the way to do it is to bring the voltage down in the middle to 14 volts and then charge at 16.5. Then you get similar performance as you would with a 16-volt battery that does not have an alternator included.
Right.
So we released the 14-volt version of the D1600 at that point, and it took a little while for it to take off. In fact, customers outside of racing and car audio supported that battery this entire time, and it's weird stuff like aviation industry runs primarily on 28 volts, so a lot of people
they get two of them
series together for their aviation applications.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I figured they were 12 volts like the rest of us.
Yeah, and it's it's something
well, higher voltage means less thinner wire for current draw purposes, so
sure.
I guess you're cutting down on weight in an airplane.
Yeah, they don't typically use them in flight. They're usually for ground support type stuff. But yeah, they've been very popular for things like that, and now it's kind of started to be adopted for racing applications. And for a while, we were really pushing it in the car audio world, and it's a little bit annoying for me because I told customers directly myself on the phone, even tried to convince dealers that 14 volts is the way to go, especially for a lot of the amplifiers that were around back in that time. And then it never would get adopted as much as we tried to push it. Lo and behold, once lithium takes off, you get C-Max everywhere, which is 14 volts.
Right. We're having that problem too.
Yeah, it's literally the same voltage range.
As soon as we come out with a solid amp, it's for lower voltage. Everybody jumps to C-Max and LTO or whatever they are. Yeah.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that that we started in 07 with that, but I made a deal with the previous owner of PowerMaster at that time that if I were going to take the portion of the company that I acquired, the lithium part that I helped develop, I would leave it behind for his family to run. And so I signed a non-compete. I didn't want to step on their toes for a period of time.
There's still a family member that works for you that was part of the original owner, right?
There is one, yes.
Yep.
Yes. So it's family atmosphere around our place too, much like it is here. So, but yeah, that lithium, we just kind of stayed out of it for a little while, and then once lithium became a little more popular in the car audio scene, we decided instead of exercising our rights under our expired non-compete to do it on our own, we just partnered with that original party and started a product through them designed by us, and it did okay. I mean, we sold a lot of them, probably more than anybody else in the lithium world in car audio at that time, but it wasn't really, it was expensive for its time compared to lead products.
Yeah. How about now? Do you see the price coming down a little bit in the lithium market?
Yes, it has. The amount of money you have to spend to buy a lithium in car audio now is substantially less than it was at that very beginning point in time.
JP's in here.
Hey, JP.
Hey, JP. You better get on that honeymoon and get out of here.
Yeah, man.
What are you doing? By the way, congratulations, JP and Jessica, on your wedding,
definitely.
on your nuptials the other day.
I'm still recovering myself.
Same.
So, do you see lithium as being a standard coming soon in the market? And it already kind of is, but I'm talking about like maybe in the actual automotive market, like standard customers.
not across the board. It's, it's not going to replace lead.
I mean, everything's jumping to electric vehicles already, but
Yeah.
for the fuel for the gas engines, do you think that they'll switch to lithium? The market in general.
We are working with some pretty good size OEMs right now for that potential.
Right.
But there's a lot to be considered when you put it in a formal consumer's hands. Car
Right.
stereo is kind of informal, and we make
Right.
LTO products that car stereo
You
guys
need
buy.
something that's going to have the longevity and less headache, and less liability.
It just has to. Yes, the liability is the issue. It has to be we're selling products to customers who are, for most purposes, they're well trained. I mean,
Right.
yes, we do make a product that is safe.
I think you're giving a lot of our customers too much credit there. Yeah.
Well, there's some I wouldn't give credit to, but our product is still safe for that. But
Right.
if we're gonna put a lithium battery under the hood of a piston engine vehicle in an OEM application, there's other things that have to be considered beyond what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. But I don't think it's going to take over necessarily lead
Gotcha.
products.
Well, there are some other materials that people are coming up with that's going to be beyond lithium. I think you have mentioned to me before that you're looking into those things as well. Don't know if you want to talk about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, we do extensive testing for any new material that comes around. So, I've looked into the graphene.
Graphene, that's what
growth.
it was. Yep.
I've looked into the graphene growth processes. We actually have a relationship with a Knoxville company that grows graphene, and they're one of the only ones that have perfected that process for mass production. And
Right.
we've tested it on our ultracapacitors. There are some benefits and there are some setbacks from it.
Yeah.
But we're going to continue to test that. Graphene is kind of a buzzword in the industry. There's a lot of private equity money that has been invested in graphene that's not really returned anything to those
Gotcha.
investors.
It's still some more R&D involved. Now, I've always heard, if you take your 3400 series for instance. Let's say we take a lithium battery that's that size. That lithium battery would be equal or close to equal to 3 to 4 AGMs
It depends on how you
in
build
capacity.
it. Yeah, it depends on how you build it. If you build it for capacity, it could be
Yeah.
3 or 4 times as much capacity.
So in general, yes, they are more expensive, but you're getting a shit ton more capacity and like a third of the weight.
Yeah.
So you gain a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, of course, there's many other advantages too. The life cycles and, the cost is the only real disadvantage currently.
Right. Well, Scottie, first, so you are now the new owner of Sundown Audio, but it's not called Sundown Audio on your side. It's called Systematic Audio.
Yeah, that's the legal
So
LLC
that is our
name.
legal LLC. Now, is that Systematic Audio? Does that consume excess power and Ioxis as well?
No, so there's a sister company for both Excess Power and TurboStart and Ioxis
Okay.
in the Systematic family. So, at the corporate level, we refer to it as the Systematic Group
Yep.
of companies, which kind of extends outside of things that say Systematic in front of them.
Okay.
Other partnerships and such. But no, Systematic Audio, DBA Sundown as its own.
Yeah, so you started Systematic Audio because you want to also acquire other audio companies.
All
on
of
top
them.
this.
Oof. My bandwidth is a little maxed out at this
Hey,
particular
we'll
point.
give it some time. We're here to grow.
Yeah.
But I understand why it's not just Sundown Audio LLC. It's Systematic now because we can bring on others.
Yeah.
We
Well,
can do all
there's a
kinds of cool stuff, guys.
Who wants to
That's
sell their company to Scottie?
No, don't start that. Come on.
Let's do it.
Big Jeff has a question for you. He says you need to get more cells because he's selling too many.
More cells?
I think so. He said cells.
SALES?
Do you think we'll get more?
You see it on the screen
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, cells. Yes, we do. We've really started ramping up LTO cell production lately. It's that's going really well.
So you do LTO.
Correct.
He said, "Do you want to buy a vending machine business?" That's what Kyle said.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle, I just bought 5 drinks out of your machine,
Yeah.
bro.
Kyle, I may actually be interested in buying that off you if you want to get rid of it. Just saying. I am curious.
Come on now, having a vending machine at work, you know
Yeah.
you're gonna make money.
Yeah,
Come
of
on,
course.
now.
Yeah.
Working
So-
in the warehouse. Come on.
Now we're on to the Sundown part. So
Yeah.
I know we haven't had a show since that.
We haven't.
Right.
So the last show we did was when the day before Crystal and I got married, which was in October. And my mom was on here talking, and all of a sudden the computer just died.
Yeah.
So we had to do like a 40-minute show maybe,
Yep.
and the computer died. So I'm hoping if the computer dies again tonight, guys, I'm sorry.
I don't think it
but
will. I don't think it will.
We at least got through Scottie's important part.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
Yeah, we can skip me. It's all
One-
good.
one-
no,
It's
we're
good.
not.
It's all
I
good.
think that we've proved a lot of the people wrong that had concerns about this acquisition by now.
Oh God.
Considering the amount of stuff that I've been doing,
Yeah.
because I'm not like worried about like managing a business anymore.
so Jake, without going into too many details, let's talk about maybe what brought you on to be like, all right, it's time to it's time to sell my company.
Right.
It's time to move on or do something with myself. What happened?
I got really stressed.
Yeah.
The company, there was a lot of growth there, but a lot of headaches come with the growth. And, Brandon will remember this. So I said very early on that if I get more stressed about running the company than I enjoy making products, I think that's going to be my time. And that happened.
Yeah, it's understandable.
And the stress, and I've talked about my journey, like trying to get back in shape and fitness and stuff like that. And then the reason I got that way out of shape was the stress from running the business. And it literally almost killed me.
What are you fitting in? Fitness what? Fitness dirt.
Fitting this exercise regimen. But yeah, man.
Well,
So like,
there's only so much you can do as a business owner to the point where if it's killing you, you have to do something about it.
yeah, exactly.
And it's totally understandable. And we all took your side.
Yeah,
And we're like,
yeah.
we see that it's hurting you physically and mentally. And we appreciate everything you've done for us.
Yeah.
In the past, and it's like Scottie's the perfect person,
Right. It's like just the perfect guy at the perfect time.
Because there's other people you could have sold a company to, probably for more money. But
Maybe,
you know what?
maybe.
At the same time, would we all have been happy? No.
Right. I
We
mean,
would not have been.
and everything in life is not all about money,
No.
which is why I didn't try to push myself to the point of killing myself
Yeah.
to keep doing what I was doing. I've some people follow me on Facebook. They see, spend a lot more time doing stuff with the kids now, and like me and my son Joseph exercise together, and me and my son Dylan we do walks
more
together.
Importantly, on our side of things, on
Yeah.
the Sundown side of things, you're able to actually focus on your designs now,
Right.
and you probably enjoy doing it now.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
That's super important because you can't design things if your mind's racing all over the place.
Oh, absolutely not. If I'm stressed about running the company, like my idea center shuts down.
I remember there were times. I remember there were times within the past couple of years where we would say, "Hey, where are you on this design on this product we talked about? X amount of months ago." And you'd be like, "Well, I haven't done anything because I'm too stressed."
Things are crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got too much going on, and it's completely understandable.
Yep.
And it takes a bigger man to know when to back off.
Yep. Yep.
And we thank you very much for that, Jake.
Well, I appreciate everybody here and all that for everything they've done. And, anybody that might have been worried, like we still have the entire Sundown team here. Nobody got fired.
Nobody's fired.
You know?
I'm on a thin thread, but we're good. That's good.
Let's see. Did I miss any
I
questions?
like
while
to
was
think I've
talking?
shown my worth to Scottie so far.
Let's see. What happened? Oh, yeah. JP says, hopefully he buys down for sound next.
There you go.
$1 billion. Yeah. There you,
Yeah.
The big evil face. Exactly. Right.
Yep.
All right, so you get Sundown Audio. So, Scottie, so you're in the middle of text messaging. I understand.
Yep.
So, what are your goals with this company that you're running now?
Goals. To build it and make it better than it already is.
More
Why
awesome.
did you buy Sundown Audio?
I
What?
mean,
Seriously.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I mean, I know Jake's a great guy.
Do you have any idea how many people have come to me and said, "How did you get the chance to do that?"
Right. I really think you were probably the only person in his wheelhouse that he even thought about it.
I believe it. Jake's and I's goals are very well aligned in
Yep.
terms of what we feel is the right way to run a company,
Right.
and the right way to satisfy customers.
Yeah.
So
As an employee, we are learning. I want to say that Jake did things the wrong way. we're learning the more corporate way of doing things, the correct way to. When you have a company this big, you have to do things differently.
yeah,
Mom and pop stores do different do things differently than a corporate store will do.
Yeah.
And we're learning that, and it's taking us some time, especially in the office and the warehouse, to do things the proper way.
It's so much better. You know, like Scottie said that when he was even in the acquisition phase, like he had already thought about all this stuff. And when I started, I was just like, hey, man, I'm going to make speakers. It's going to be great. You know, I didn't think that was going to make a big business. You know, I never did. And it just so happens, I guess it doesn't so happen, I worked really hard to make products people like. You know, and it just, you know, kind of went to where it is.
Yeah.
And that is I'll say it right now, that's the key to a winning business is the product has to be worth a shit.
Yeah.
And that part's covered, and the rest of it really comes down to the team. You know, the customers are a huge part of it, but, you know, the team here, I already came in feeling like this team is part of my family.
Well, you knew a lot of us anyway.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier. Yep. When you go into something fresh, you don't know anybody, I can see there be some hesitation.
Yes, and I've done that, and that's hard. That's very hard. That's exactly what the Ioxus situation was, and those guys are all family now too. I mean, it can be done. You know, I try to be very transparent with everybody and say that this transition is not going to be easy, and there's a fine balance with everything. So, you know, we'll get through the difficulties that come with change, and we'll
definitely
all be stronger and better for it once it's finished.
Someone asked if I'm still going to be designing new products. More than ever is the answer to that question.
Every day.
Yeah, I try to. Sometimes I talk to my wife about the new products, and she's like, "Wait, is that a different one than you talked to me about yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah, it's another one. It's another one."
Crucial 100. That's our. That's Wes from K-Shore, from the Cayman Islands. He's one of our distributors out there. So nice to talk to you, Wes.
Yep.
All
Hey,
right.
JP sent us a super chat thing.
Damn, JP! Look, you're the one getting married. You're the one on your honeymoon over here. Thank you very much, JP, for the super chats. Ask anything you want, sir. Let's maybe move things over to Shawn. So first off, I know we're already in an hour over here. I don't know how much longer you guys got, but we can keep this going forever, or until the computer shuts off. We'll see what happens first. Scottie,
I'm boring. You don't want to talk to me that much.
nah, you're an exciting dude. Scottie, you mentioned as the acquisition was happening that you had a guy in mind to be our main sales dude. We're now calling him the vice president of sales.
Yes.
So, what made you bring Shawn on?
So a lot of people don't know this, but Shawn and I have known each other since 2007, roughly.
Bring the mic up closer to you, Shawn.
And as I mentioned earlier, you know, he was a sales rep for me for Excess Power.
Okay.
And we went through this phase of really believing that sales reps in the car audio world was the way you got new accounts, because a lot of the major players like Kicker had this field of sales reps. Well, sales reps are great for a lot of companies. It just took me a while to realize it wasn't a great fit for Excess Power, but
We had the same problem too.
Yeah, we tried it.
yeah, and I think there may be a time in Sundown's future where field sales reps make a ton of sense, maybe even for Excess Power too. But during that time, as the company was early on growing, we realized that this is really not a good fit for us, primarily because if anybody was going to have to manage them, it would be me, and I was going to have to design products and do all the other things. So I basically just said, okay, well, no more sales reps. We're not doing that anymore. But there was always one sales rep that stuck out in my mind that did a phenomenal job, and I was like, if I ever get a chance to hire that guy, I'm going to do it. And he never asked to work for me when it was just Excess Power, but as soon as the Sundown news broke, he was like, dude, we got to get together.
So you contacted him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I reached out to Scottie.
And his text message came through, and I was like, I haven't heard from him in about 5 years, maybe 10.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope he's asking.
Besides bumping into each other at a show.
Yeah. I was like, I hope he's about to ask me for a job, because, man, that would be great. It didn't take long.
Fantastic.
Nice. Well, and you've mentioned the growth that he put on with was it Wet Sounds?
Can we talk about that? Is that okay?
We won't
we
talk.
can talk-
We won't
yeah,
talk
just
real
not-
numbers.
In loose
Just-
terms, yeah.
You've done some really good numbers with Wet Sounds to the point where it grew them, dramatically, and that's amazing. And maybe let's talk about the beginnings first before you got into being a rep.
College. sophomore year in college, started making way more money than I was spending in college.
Right.
I was going into debt, but I was making six figures as a retail salesperson. So I was like,
At one store?
yes, sir.
All right.
And so that's when I said deuces and peace.
Around what year was that?
1989.
89. Okay.
Yeah,
All
89,
right.
89 and 90. I started. That's when I really started getting into
Okay.
car audio.
That's when shit started becoming car
Yeah,
audio.
we didn't have internet.
Yeah, that's when it was like, hey, there's a thing called car audio.
Yeah, we didn't have the internet, so
We got
it
speakers
was
for
fun.
your car. Your car can sound better than stock. Here you
Mm-hmm.
go. I mean, back then, Pioneer and Alpine were still a big thing. God, I can't get it out.
And
of my
they still are in
Yeah.
Houston, and I mean those, but they're now more
for
controlled.
decks. Actually, Blow Punk was huge back then too.
Mhm.
Yep. I'm trying to think who else made.
If we get
Clarion,
a short
Techniques.
break, I can answer some questions if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
We can
Right.
do something.
I just got a couple questions. I had a guy ask, am I phasing out 10s in certain lines? When I go to the ZV7, I probably won't make a 10 because it won't go in the hole. Until I get the next generation frames done, then I might consider bringing it back. I don't know. We'll see. But, you'll still be able to get the X and the Nightshade in the 10. And then I had
And that
another
new woofer you're working on too, the M.
bunch of stuff, yeah. And then Drew said, the popularity of Sundown in his area is because of him and his brother. That's 100% true.
It is, yeah.
Drew and his brother pushed Sundown like you wouldn't
Yeah.
believe. And Joey said he's basically a rep, which is also true.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was one more.
We got Crazy Ralph because of
Yep.
Drew.
And then I Am Awesome, You're Not said, would Sundown ever license designs from other manufacturers? I'm pretty stubborn about trying to come up with my own stuff. I'm not saying that we would never license anything, but I'm pretty stubborn about making my own stuff most of the time. Everybody that knows me knows I'm just like, I got to do it on my. I just have to do this.
Yeah.
It's got to be my way. It's got to be the Jake way.
Well, you usually come up with some pretty cool stuff, man.
I kind of went crazy on that new SA 3-inch driver that I'm making. It's so insanely ridiculous.
There's
And
somebody who's got a car that all that would fit in.
that's true.
Yeah.
That little SA 3M I'm working on, it doesn't even make sense how good it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Thunder.
Oh, that's what.
Iron Thunder.
Oh, okay.
What's going on, guys? Any more questions on there on that
So
board?
no, I just wanted to knock those three out before they went away.
Yeah. I'm sorry,
I see
guys.
someone asking what my very first car audio system was. It was an AM radio and a Datsun B210 car with the very first AC that Datsun ever came out with.
Oh wow.
And I put a Technics 12-inch three-way home speaker in the trunk connected to my AM radio. That was my very first car stereo.
I can only imagine what that sounded like.
It was straight ass.
Yeah. AM radio.
Yes. That was my first
Oh, jeez.
radio in my car.
All right, so you're working at the shop. You're making some good money. You're still in school.
Yeah, and
All
I
right.
dropped out of school because I got my first payment to my student loan, and I got mad, and so I dropped out of school at that point when I realized that my student loan payment was
Thank you very
more
much,
than
Drew.
I was making that week.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Again, yeah. Thank you for your super chats, Drew. Thank you very much. And
That
Drew,
was
you,
Drew.
you, Drew, you know you're always welcome on the show. Anytime you're here, we get you on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah.
I know.
Drew's been on the show probably about 3 or 4 times.
Nice. So I became a sales rep, and I repped JL Audio. It was the big line, the major line that we had. And I was working for him from 2000. I met Scottie in 2007. We were the Kinetic reps before we met Scottie, and we had won award after award. And funny thing is, I pulled them out the other day. I was taking awards down actually because I was trying to paint my office, and I don't want Kinetic awards in the background when I'm now working for Systematic / Excess Power.
It's understandable. We're all.
Nah, yeah, but no, it's just funny. And then 2007, I met Scottie. 2010, I left and left the company I was working for and went to.
Well, let's back up a second. So you were working for like a rep company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't like an Excess Power or a Rockford. It was a company
A rep firm.
that does a conglomerate of different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. What was the name of that company, if you don't mind?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Just because I was talking smack
Oh,
about the poor
okay,
guy.
understandable.
So,
All right, so you left them in 2007,
2010.
2010. Okay.
Yes, 2010. We didn't have most rep firms don't give their employees insurance.
Right.
It's 1099 everything.
Yeah, you're subcontracted basically. Yeah.
And so it's funny. Funny thing is I was at the bank
guys asked
getting
about
ready to
financial
sign
cells?
some loans to get a
I don't know anything
loan
about
for my
it.
wife to have
We'll
our
get a
second
question
child.
break.
Gotcha.
And I was
know if you're
repping
gonna
a
start
line
selling
called
or
Wet
using-
Sounds at the time.
We can still hear you guys talk, by the way. Yeah.
So yeah,
Hold on. So you got a loan because you're about to have a kid.
I was in the bank about to sign a loan to
have a baby.
to have a for my wife to
Is
have.
that a thing that people do? I've never done that. I just said, okay, we're having a baby. Guess we're gonna have to. We're fucked.
Figure it out.
I've never thought about
Well, I
getting a
mean,
loan.
it was my second, so I knew my wife was going to have a C-section, and I
Yeah.
wanted her to have a private room. I just wanted to do what I could.
I was so
And
broke back then that we just had Medicaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was signing a loan. I didn't have the
Yeah.
money. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
So I didn't have
Thank
insurance.
you, government.
And so I got a phone call from the owners of Wet Sounds, and they said, "Listen, we know what you're doing. Don't sign that. Please come talk to us." And I went and talked to them. Was offered an amazing opportunity.
Where was Wet Sounds based
Houston,
out of?
Texas.
Okay. Because
Yes.
I know they were here in Mooresville at one point
No,
in North
never,
Carolina.
never.
Were they not?
No.
Okay, well, I heard wrong then.
Always
Keep
based
going,
out of
sir.
Houston, Texas. And so they had been open in business for several years. I think it was about 5 years when I came to join them. And I came in and they gave me the opportunity to kind of have free will to revamp sales, create programs. And I took everything I had learned from the 10 years of being a sales rep, working for great companies, with companies such as JL Audio, MB Court, Rockford Fosgate, and companies like that, took what I learned from there and applied it to Wet Sounds. Then I hired a sales force, a rep firm, because I do believe in reps. I am a big rep person, a
That's what you do.
believer. Because I've been one for over
That's your
18
thing.
years, and so I see the value and I see both sides of the angle. Sometimes I want to say that big time. Sometimes, so
We've not had the greatest luck with reps. Some reps have been really good to
there's
us.
a lot of reps that suck.
But
Let's
yeah,
just say there
yeah,
is.
You've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and make it quick, make it short. Grew the company. I left there. Decided I had a crazy, stupid idea that I wanted to open my own retail store. So I left Wet Sounds, my VP job, and opened a retail store. Did that for about 3 years. Realized I definitely don't want to deal with people that much. Retail was not for me.
It hurts, man.
Well, the problem is I'm a traveler. Some people are born to
Thank you
travel,
very
and
much,
some
Kyle.
people aren't. And so I realized when I was a sales rep and when I was at Wet Sounds that I was born to travel. I love to go out and meet different people. It really doesn't affect me to be gone 2 weeks a month, sometimes 3. I'm okay with it. When I met my wife, she knew that was the man she married from the
Right.
day she met me. So
Hey, you know, it makes your bond stronger when you're actually
it's
there.
great. But I like to see the world. I like to see new people. I like to see new businesses. I like to see the impact I can make.
Crystal's not big on me traveling so much, but she's just gonna have to deal with it. You know? She doesn't like being alone. She's very clingy, but you know I enjoy the clinginess because what I had before was not clingy. Was the opposite of clingy. So I'm okay with that.
What's up, Kendro?
At least I know she loves me.
You can hang out with Cigar Joe.
So
Carjo, there we go.
He's from Houston.
Yeah, he used to live in Houston for
Oh, yeah.
30 years.
Oh, okay. What part of Houston?
Yes.
He's in Georgia now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But he lives in
I'm in the Kingwood area.
I always thought Cigar Joe would have been from like
30 years. He's
New
very
Jersey
nice.
because he just looks like somebody from like where I grew up. He looks like he looks like a family member of mine. you
Right,
know?
right.
But no. All right, so you started your company, your store.
I started
but you-
the
but you
retail
couldn't handle it.
business after 3 years, realizing that I didn't want to. Let's just call it like I can sell. I don't want to run a business, and I don't want to see the same people every day.
Right.
Right.
That's some people are made for the corporate life and be able to live that. I need to be on the road. That's just the way I'm built. And so it was better for me not to own a business. And
Did you
the
sell
one
that
thing-
off to somebody else?
No,
or-
actually, I had the rep principal I worked for 10 years was my business partner in the retail business.
Okay.
And so we had a mutual agreement to leave. I left, and he let me walk away debt free, and I walked away. He got the business, the land, and everything, and eventually he sold it. And we're still friends to this day. He's a good person. He's a great man. So,
Yeah. Real quick, Drew says, first off, thank you very much for the super chats, Drew. He says, travel out to Agaland and MTI this weekend, Shawn. I don't know what any of that means, but I'm sure you do.
yes, and trust me, I'm going to try and get there. It depends. I'm leaving here sometime on Friday morning or Friday afternoon. And this is a 16-hour drive,
Yeah, it's
and
like a
I've
2-day
got to
trip.
get home. So
Right,
trust me, I want to get to Aggieland because we all know Chris and I are good friends.
Yeah,
So-
Drew
so-
asked me that question while we were
Really?
in Vegas, and I was like, I don't know if Shawn's going to make it back in time for that or not.
Because that's still 2 hours past
Yeah.
my house.
Is that,
So
a,
that's
is
like,
that a show?
yeah,
We have
it's a badass SQ show. It's probably one of my favorite shows ever to go
I need
to.
to start going to these damn
We have a good
SQ
question
shows.
for you, Shawn, from Big Jeff about the upcoming dealer program. He says, what do you want to do in Q3 and Q4? Is it more towards dealer direct or distribution? As our sales guy, that's something that you could probably help.
Oh well,
Stocking
actually we
dealer.
have quite a bit coming in line. If you want to,
Let's premise this real quick.
Oh.
So you are our VP in sales. So
Correct.
when it comes to promotions and kind of how we're going to conduct business with our dealers, you're the first line of defense. You're the one who's going to help us create all these new programs. So let's talk about some of that.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
What would you like to ask me?
Well, he's
I guess we'll
asking.
start with Big Jeff's question. Like, what was your plans for that?
Well, Big Jeff, what we are going to do is we're going to be introducing a rebate, a growth incentive rebate
Get
program.
that mic a little
basically.
closer to your face.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
We're going to be introducing a rebate program to, first off, to bring in more margin to the distributors and to our stocking dealers. And not only that, we're going to introduce some new buying programs to add extra margin. So I don't want to get into specifics since we're in public on radio, but there's going to be multiple ways that we're going to add margin to you. So we're going to, right off the bat in Q2, we're going to start off with 2 new great programs that are going to help increase margin right away.
Basically,
Excellent.
they're discounted programs for usually when you buy a certain amount of product or a specific product.
Yeah, I just don't want to get into too many
Right.
specifics right now because we're
Because
open
we'll
mic.
change it up maybe every quarter. You know?
And we're gonna have
What-
other
what are we
promotions
high on? What are
besides
we
that.
high on? What are we low on? Let's get this stuff rolling out the door. Shit like that, right?
Right. So I guess his
Yeah.
main question is, are we signing on new direct dealers or pushing to distributors? We're doing both things. I
Actually,
believe.
100% both.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
we're,
things.
we're looking for partners in both areas because the direct dealers are going to be the ones that deal with our consumers, of course, and our distributors are the main bloodline that keep our dealers flowing. Besides what we do, so it
depends on what-
it goes hand
It
in
depends
hand.
on what's more
100%.
beneficial for you as a company, as a retailer. You know, is there a distributor close to you? You know, because you
Right,
maybe don't
right.
get those shipping discounts. You know, closer to where you are. It may be cheaper to get it from a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're trying to go direct with us, you have to purchase a certain amount to
Mm-hmm.
get that free shipping, and or it may not be worth it. You know,
Well,
depends.
there's
on
a
how,
major financial commitment that you have to make to join Sundown Direct.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the best solution for 80% of the dealers out in the out there right now is going to be a distributor.
Yeah.
Our distributor partners are very strong, and they are really supportive,
And we
they
brought
have great
on-
programs for our customers.
And we're really trying to fill the U.S. or the world with more distributors to be able to take on more retailers.
I will jump in here and say this: we are not closed off by any means, looking for more distributors by any means. We're always open to.
We could use a little more in the Northwest,
well,
folks.
look, we're open to all kinds of territories, international and everything. Everything is open for conversation.
Get that mic close to you. You want to point it towards your face. There you go.
Everything is open to conversation. I mean,
Right.
it's just we're not shut down by any means, but we are going to be coming out with some very unique items that are strictly for distributors, and we are also going to be coming out with a dealer-only line. So we are going to be catering to both of our clientele.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Hell yeah.
I'm super excited because Jake's getting to develop a lot of new toys right now. And this to me is toys.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
This
he's
is
finally
fun.
he's finally able to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's enjoying himself now, and this is important to everybody that works here. If he can do what he wants to do, it makes everybody else's life much easier.
It does, yeah.
Well, having the open door like I have with Jake and with Scottie, it makes it to where I know we're going to be coming out with amazing products.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know it because I see the creativity in Jake, and it excites me.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. It brings the excitement back into me when I get out in the field and just preach it to everybody.
Yeah, anybody that follows Jacob has seen evidence of the new product development
Yeah.
wave that's coming.
I haven't been able to talk about a third of it.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
That's the
Right.
thing is that they've seen a ton, but it's like this the first little bit.
Yep. It's so much now that I'm having to use a software program to like organize my thoughts at this point.
Yes. I am still, it's been 4 years, maybe more, in making the new American-made amplifiers
Mhm.
with like
Well, that's taken off.
amazing
quite.
efficiency.
Yeah. We thank goodness, and this is a synergy with the new team that Scottie has. Like we're actually making progress again.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I cannot wait at all.
It's gonna be
so amazing.
It's gonna be sweet.
So, Shawn, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so.
Are you
I
hap-
don't think so. No, I mean,
It depends on what questions you're
Yeah,
going to ask.
yeah. Really, it just.
I assume you're happy here.
Oh, absolutely.
That's important.
You know, I'm the oddball here in the group, so I'm the new man. I'm the ugly duckling, whatever, walking into the room. So
Yeah.
I want to do whatever I can to
I've
help
had,
out.
I've had some really cool conversations with Shawn already, you know, where he's out there in the field and he's talking to people that sell other products. And we're not going to say anything bad about any of their products, but it's really cool to, when he tells me he introduces somebody to Sundown that's never heard it, and they're like, this is unbelievable. Like, why didn't I know about this, you know?
Yeah.
It's really fun to hear that.
We were the top of the underground companies for the longest time, and we're finally cresting into a mainstream company.
Yeah.
And a lot of big dealers are like, "Oh, I've heard of that name. But
Yeah.
now I hear that name."
One of my favorite things
Yeah.
to hear is when he's like, I showed this dealer the E series and he was blown away. And I was like, man, wait till he hears the X or the Z.
That's right. I mean, look, the last year that I was out in the field as a sales rep, there was one brand that caught my attention. And it caught my attention because it took my sales. At the end of the day, I'm a salesman. And when I go to my retailers and I ask them for their buy-in orders, or when I go and I look at my quarterly numbers and they're down, and when I go to their stores and I see a new brand in there,
that you're not repping.
exactly, I ask what's eating my lunch. Why can't I have a PO? And the thing that caught that brought Sundown to my attention was Crazy Ralph.
Right.
And I'll tell anybody this story. Crazy Ralph had a Q Power box, prefab bedliner box, their mega ported box, whatever, just, you know, $299 full retail box, cost a dealer maybe $100. Okay. And he had two E woofers in it, two E10s. And he had a Sundown. It was when I think you guys had a 1000 one. It was a small little, I can't remember the model number. It was a small little black 1000, little tiny little thing.
Probably an SFB.
SFB probably.
Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah, SFB 1000. So, anyways, he had this retail package for an amp box and two 12s or two 10s going out the door for $7.99. And he looks at me, and I'm repping other lines, and he goes, compete with it. What you got? And I'm looking at him with a blank look, and he turned it on, and I said, "Hold on." And he turned it on, and then my face went white. I said, "Shit, I ain't got nothing." And that's when I learned about Sundown. I'll be quite honest. And then from then I started paying attention, started doing homework, started researching the brand, started seeing other retailers bringing it in, seeing that their woofers were eating my ass
Yeah.
locally. And then now I'm seeing nationwide they're eating everybody's ass.
By the way, Drew, you are correct. You are the one that brought on Crazy Ralph's from the beginning. Thank you very much, Drew. And thank you for the super chats.
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, I think we should wrap this up. I really want to thank the both of you for taking your time and spending the night here to be able to do this show. Again, just Scottie, it's been 4 years in the making trying to get you on the show. And I hope to have you on a little more currently. Or,
Regularly.
Regularly, that's the word. I can't even think. I've had enough to drink. Shawn, I'm sure we'll have you on again, too. You're going to be
Definitely.
here. How often do you think you're going to come in? Not the show, but
If I
here.
have my choice, I'd be here once a month.
Okay. Well, Scottie, let's make that happen. Let's do it. Again, thank you very much for coming on, and we want to thank the viewers. Thank you for sticking with us. I know it's been a while since I've done a show. Thank you for the super chats. We're going to try to make this a more regular thing again. Maybe not once a week, but maybe twice a month, something like that. We'll start doing some more product reviews and stuff like that as well. And I'm not done with my truck yet. I will get that done as well. Again, thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.